Alright, so take it apart. We just, oh, I already got it out, never mind. Alright, so the first thing we gotta do is take the slide off of the frame. Press here on the slide stop pin. As you pull back, it'll fall out. Remove the two. Hold that down. Push and wrench.
Gotta buy one of those.
And I flip it over, because that's gonna pop out of there, right? Spring comes off. Guide rod. And both your bushings are tight. So if you're used to some of your other guns, you're gonna have to use a wrench.
I've got some wrenches.
It'll pop out. It'll pop out. So now the slide is disassembled, field stripped. The extractor is still in there and the firing pin is still in there, which is fine. For the frame, general cleaning, this is as far as you're gonna go. Wipe everything down, and then you're gonna add oil. I got a little needle oil here.
Yep, got some. Just bought some on your recommendation.
Okay, excellent. So for the most part, I mean, it's really just wipe it down.
You know, for 38, I went to 700X. I bought, for 25 bucks, I bought 20 pounds of it about a year ago.
Oh wow,
Jeez.
nice.
That guy passed away and his nephew was dumping everything.
Oh wow,
Give me 25 bucks? Yeah, I'll give you 25.
nice.
So for a 38 load that just makes it, 2.6, 700X. Clean
Nice.
and
It's not much powder. Nice. So for the most part, I mean, you can almost do this every time you shot it. You know, every few hundred rounds, say.
Okay.
This is just the basic wipe down, and you re-oil the rails, disconnector. The channels here where the barrel rides, face, here, here, here. The entire hood area here, all of that. The guide rod, inside and outside of the bushing, and that's it. Then you reassemble. What you need to know is how to take it down further than that. Because you got to make sure everything down inside here is going to get dirty, and it's going to get clogged up. Your extractor is very critical on a 1911. That's going to get clogged up too. So what you got to do here, you press the firing pin, and push up. So that comes out like a so. Firing pin will come out. And my little screwdriver.
Buy a Sinclair device.
And then the extractor's out. So now your slide is 100% disassembled. The only thing still on there is the sights, and you'll never take the sights off. Q-tips. Get in the firing pin hole. Swab that out. The extractor hole gets very dirty. So you can see that's just from what we've done today.
It's not even 50 rounds.
Exactly. So it gets dirty. These are not Glocks, they are not XDs. They do need maintenance. So I burned through a lot of these. And you use regular Q-tips you get from supermarket if you want. These come from Brownells. The nice thing about these is that they're longer to get into there. So that's kind of why I like those. Yeah, you're just getting the powder and everything builds up in there. It's just want to get all that crap out of there. Now for you, you've got the ultrasonic cleaner. So at this point, cut the fiber out and just throw it in the thing. Yep. Alright, so there's that.
Ultrasonic doesn't like the fiber, doesn't like the ultrasonic.
Nope, it'll melt.
Okay.
And make a mess. And it gets cloudy and everything anyway. So, I mean, fiber optic's cheap. You get it same place, Brownell, Shooter's Connection. You can get it by the bundle.
Gotcha.
And Chris has login information for Shooter's Connection also for discounts.
Okay.
And it just looks like crap. You get all this stuff on there. Barrel, you clean the same way. I use the Brownell's double tough brushes. They're a little stiffer.
I got some of those from the last time. They are stiffer.
They are. So they're very rigid, and that helps especially when you're using the moly coating or the newer, whatever it's called. You know, you just brush, patch, run through it, and then oil. Same as any other barrel. No big deal there. So now the slide is completely apart. Extractor. This thing is critical. What happens here is the claw gets gunked up in there with all the powder fouling. I take a pick of some sort, and you can just scrape it out of there. Or a standard brush. Set it up here. Or a brush. So that way that hook stays clean.
Looks like those Harbor Freight ones, 3 for $1.99.
Those are the ones. All the same stuff, right? And then for the frame, you both have the same brand grips. These are VZ grips with the VZ screws. So these are a little nicer appearance, I think, than just the standard GI ones. But they're Torx, T15 torque bit. Get it in the hole before you turn. Okay, so there's that. These are pretty tight in there, so sometimes it's easier to pop the mag well off first. Yours doesn't have, yours is blended. For yours, this is just a plastic insert. Eventually this wears. This is $10 to replace that, so that way it stays nice. And you just pry up where the screwdriver one was. Be careful with it so you don't break it. And then Allen wrench. Not the right Allen wrench. Oh, come on. I don't think that's, no, that's too big. I've tried that one before. Now these are for the CR Speed.
Okay.
It's a little one, looks like that. Oh, it's right there in the corner. Yeah, so that comes off. That comes off the bottom. And you take the grips off. Okay. Then you got to get the hammer down. Remember, don't ever let your hammer just fly. And that is the latest Spencer custom hammer, modeled after the SV QB hammer, the flat hammer, so it gives a little different look. You want a little flare in there. Take this guy. So we got punch, hammer. So that comes out. You just slide it down. Now you're going to need to pull the hammer back again. Pull the safeties off, which are going to be tight. And there's the plunger spring in here, so I always kind of lean up close to it. So that way it doesn't spring out on me. Pull that out. Grip safety out. See your spring out. A little smaller punch, push out hammer, sear pin, screwdriver to take out the mag release. So you got to depress the mag release a little bit as you're turning counterclockwise, and it just comes out. And then there's all the internals. That's completely stripped. This is as far as it goes. Same thing again, just clean it out. For you, no, it's an ultrasonic. You gotta get an ultrasonic, Eric. That's the next.
Yeah, I know. They're, the Lyman one you have, I think that the Chicago, the Harbor Freight version's what, like 120 bucks or something?
Yeah.
You know, if nothing else for cleaning brass, it's
Yeah, it's
Saves
just
time.
Different solution.
Yeah.
I looked at that, those little stainless steel things in a
Oh,
tumbler,
yeah.
but the only problem, get them in brass, it's a real pain in the ass to get them out.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been looking at doing the stainless steel tumbling myself. I think that'll be nice. Because I do it for a lot of, like your mags, I tumble those.
Oh, do you?
So, I mean, that's another thing you can do with all those mags. Take them apart, throw them in the tumbler. I leave mags in there for like 2 weeks. Just let them run. Because it'll polish the inside, polishes the
No
lips.
kidding?
Yep. So the thing is, one, it's longer than if I were to just polish it by hand overall. It's so
Okay.
much less effort, right?
Oh,
'Cause It's
yeah.
just in the tumbler, and in 2 weeks I'm done. I don't have to do anything.
Then you let
I'm
them
all for
run that long?
Oh yeah, because it's just the the corn and walnut.
Yeah.
It's not aggressive, so it takes about that long to really get a good polish on it. It would come out looking kind of like that
Okay,
when it's done, kind of a dulled down.
okay.
So once you got that all wiped down, everything's clean, everything's good. Now you start wiping down the individual parts.
And what are we talking for breaking it down this far? Like 500 rounds?
So I do this every time I shoot the gun.
Okay.
Do you really?
Well, let me rephrase that. Not every time I shoot the gun. Every time I clean, I never do that field strip clean. I always take it down to this level, always.
Okay.
You can shoot up to, I've tried to make the gun fail by shooting a bunch of rounds through it. I got up to 1,500, 2,000 rounds and never had a failure without touching it. So, it depends on how much you shoot.
Right.
Back in the day, I used to clean it every time I shot it. That'd be like 100 rounds at firing line or something before I was doing the gaming. So it wasn't that big a deal. Now, there's just no way. And with all the different guns, I spend my entire time cleaning.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that. So I would say, generally what I do now is every 1,000 rounds or before a major match, whatever comes first. So it's based on how much you're shooting it, kind of as your own.
Gotcha.
Chris cleans it every time he shoots it.
He even cleans the Glock all the time.
Yep. Yep.
I think I ended up running about 800 rounds through my XDM.
Mm-hmm.
And before this last match, I decided, let me look at it. And I looked down the barrel. I'm like, ooh, that's a little nasty in there. Let me clean that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, I'm sure it would have been fine, but I figured, hey, why not?
Guns
Takes
like to be
20
clean.
minutes.
Yeah, even the polymer guns, they like to be clean. Things run better. It's smoother, it's more predictable. Everything feels the same, once you get tuned into these things. So that's it. So now everything is clean. Didn't need to use any harsh chemicals, don't need to use anything. Inside the barrel, I'll use like Hops 9 on the, scrub it out.
M-Pro 7, all right?
M-Pro 7, yep, whatever you like. Nothing
Just because I have that.
There was a can of Barricade oil right there. Can you hand me that? The spray can right here? There you go. So this is the other oil I use for everything, is the Birchwood KC Barricade. It leaves it removes fingerprints and it leaves a nice finish on everything, and it kind of gets into everywhere. So a lot of times I'll just hose this thing down and then blow it off with the air compressor. But in the interest of how most people do it, we won't do that. But at least that's kind of one of the ways I get there. Take the needle oiler, trigger track, on both sides. Q-tip. You're just smoothing it out, right? Just getting it all through that channel. And the bottom, top, so you can see all through
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Everywhere that trigger's gonna ride. Anywhere there's metal on metal, you want lubrication in there. You drop the trigger back in, and it just drops in. Magazine release. On this one here, after you shoot it for a while, this will start to build up in here. And you'll have to just, make sure you clean that out real good. But this will start to wear and break in, and that'll end up being polished. That goes in there. Again, you got to depress it a little bit as you're turning clockwise, and it'll catch that channel. And you just make sure it works. Make sure everything's good there. And I usually put just a drop. Okay. Back of the trigger bow, right here is where your disconnector is going to ride. So you put some oil on that. This is the disconnector. And that goes into that hole in the top. Drop that in. Push it up. So now that's sitting on there like so. This is the sear. Just drop that on top of it.
Which direction is this in?
Just like that.
Okay.
So you got a good view of that?
Yeah, focus. Focusing on the wrong thing, but that's okay. Figure it out. All right.
Alright. And then we have the sear pin that holds it all together. And the thing is, we drop all that stuff in there, it's not lined up with the hole. So what I like to use is one of the picks. You can get in there, Kind of twist and it goes right in. It's the easiest way I found to get that to go. You got to be careful that the feet, you know, so it looks like that.
Okay.
And it's in there, so where the feet aren't behind the disconnector, everything sits on top of it. Okay.
Oops.
Does that work?
Yeah, no, I was looking and camera was pointing in a different direction.
No,
So.
nice. And then I just put oil everywhere. Just kind of like so, in between here, on the feet. You know, just kind of get oil everywhere, right? Lubrication is good. Okay, next thing is the hammer. Put oil on the outsides, on the feet. And that goes in. Hammer pin goes in. There we go, that's in. This is the sear spring. This is critical. That foot right there on the sear is where that little notch is for.
On the left-hand one.
On the left-hand one, yep. So it has to go on that sear leg. So I always start with it on the sear leg, and then I bring it down so it catches in that little notch right there. A very common thing that happens is people put these together with that underneath. You'll know right away when you put it together because nothing's going to work. But you don't want to damage this. So all your spring pressure on the trigger comes from this. And it's just bent by hand to get that tension. So you bend that at all, you're going to mess with the trigger pull quite a bit. So on top of that leg, slide it down so now it's resting right where it should. I like to throw a little drop in these channels here and on the front, because when we slide this back on, main spring housing goes in that groove. So now you can see it depress it. It's kind of holding all this together for us right now, which is good. Flip the strut down, then the grip safety goes in. And you're getting that strut to where it's lined up in the hole. And now that's ready to be assembled. It goes back in. Okay. Now you get the safeties back in. Start with the plunger spring. You notice I'm holding the grip safety so it doesn't pop back out. I get it about there. There's that. Cock the hammer back down. On the safety itself, want some oil right there where it's shiny. That's where it rides against the sear. And you get it started, and you can see it's not going to go because that plunger's there. You take any kind of tool, depress it, and it goes back in. And you put a little drop right in that hole. That's where your plunger is going to be, right? The ambi part just slides in, and it's going to be tight. That way they don't move out when you're shooting it. Okay, so that's all good. So what we want to do now is make sure they work. So now we got everything together. I kind of put my finger here just in case, because you don't want that hammer to hit the frame. Safety's on. Nothing's moving. Thumb safety's off, grip safety's on. Nothing's moving. Pull everything in, and it dropped. So now we know it's together correctly. Next thing we want to do, put the grips on. No real trick to this.
Unless you have my Kimber.
Unless you have your Kimber, where the bushings are not your friend. You just tighten those down snug. I don't want to overdo them. Well, it actually worked out good that you guys are both here at the same time. Saves me a...
I had to do it one time.
Exactly. So that's tight. Oh yeah, there's a good example of what it looks like after a couple years versus brand new. So you put it in this way, snaps out. Okay, so that's done for right now. We go back to the slide. So you gotta put the extractor in first. This is just to help slide it in there. That goes in the claw to the inside. And you can see that it's not going to go because there's that arc from the tension, so you're just going to pull it out, pulling it towards me a little bit. And then it'll slide down in there. So it's going to be snug. And it kind of snaps into place. Check the channel. That's where the firing pin stop has to go. And it's easier to line that up with a screwdriver ahead of time than it is when you're trying to hold all this stuff together. Put a little oil in that channel. Firing pin in the center. Firing pin stop. And push the firing pin in. Just like a soap.
Now, so you push that in, and then do you put something under that? How did you slide that up, Ryan?
Okay,
Do you
so-
put something under that,
I didn't.
or you just kind of pry up?
I'm just trying to
slightly?
pry up a little bit. So
Okay.
now they do make a tool. I can show you. So all I did here was I just kept this pressed in
Right.
as I push down
To get it started.
to get it started. Of course, it was easier the first time. Okay. They do make this tool, which I've not found to be very helpful. And they have this guy here. It's got this little pin on it, and then there's magnets to hold the thing. So the idea here is you put this in, press it, and then pull down. So I don't find that to be exceptionally easier.
Right.
And then they also have it set up to where you put it back in. Not that one. Oh, wrong slot. Okay, so you got that. So what they want you to do is press the firing pin. So I liked the idea of this. I just found the execution to not be very helpful. So the idea is that pushes down and you can just push up and let go. I just have never found it to be very handy. I found it to be cumbersome. It's much faster to just put it there, push that in, push that down, and then it's done. Alright, so then oil. In the grooves there where the barrel goes, on the side, face, all through the channel, all through that channel, and just kind of all over. We're pretty liberal when it comes to the oil. And you just spread it around. So it's nice and even. Nice little coating on everything. You can't really have too much oil when it comes to a 1911. No such thing. Everything is very tight on a custom gun, so that's generally why I would use slide glide and oil. I've just found, so when it's cold, the slide glide really comes it up. So like today, if they use that slide glide on them and they're brand new with slide glide, it slows it down so much it won't run.
Okay.
So I've kind of found a happy medium with this oil to where it, hot, cold, whatever, it still works. Still works well. After I clean the barrel, I usually spray it with the barricade. Just because it's easier. And oil the link. Sides. And again, I'm just bathing this in oil. And it's got a good consistency with the Mobile One. It's nice and thick. You can kind of feel that. And you figure those guys put a lot of technology into their oil, right? Car makers. So this slides in. Next step is the bushing. And just oil. Get the little notch there, you line up to the top. And it's tight, right? Custom guns are going to be tight. You got to rotate it to the side. So it goes in, guide rod. Oops, which yours came loose. So let's just fix that right now. So some of the guide rods are two pieces, and they thread together. This is another reason, this is a prime example of why I take the entire gun apart, because I get to see every part. I've several times taken my gun, even my own, and found broken parts. It's like, wow, yeah. And it's like you never would have known if you didn't take it all the way down.
Preferably 6 hours before you're leaving for a match, right?
Sometimes in the car, on the way there, or in the hotel room once you're already arrived, and yeah, then you're screwed, right? So yeah, generally I'm doing it like the day before, because my time lately is...
You don't do that thing where the guy cleans all his guns and then runs out and puts 50 rounds through it the day before just in case.
No, I actually do, as a matter of fact. So that was the next thing I was going to say. So now it's all nice and cleaned and oiled, right? But you just took everything apart, putting everything back together. Now you're going to drive to a major match somewhere. You want to make sure it works. I generally only put a mag or two through it.
Okay.
I mean, because I'm not breaking anything in at that point. I just want to make sure it works. And usually with one mag, I can know if it works. And I usually do it a mag dump, just fast as I can pull the trigger. Just see what happens. So I check my zero with a couple of shots on a target, and then I just dump it, and if it cycles and everything runs, I'm good to go. Okay. So then, now we can oil this back up. Put the spring on. Okay. So now you got to get that cap back on there, which can be a little tricky. So I actually wait until we put it back on the gun, on the frame. Hopefully you don't need this every time, Eric.
That's the red,
That's
not the
red.
blue?
Yeah, so because you never want that to come loose.
Right.
That's no big deal. So now the same thing. Anywhere metal to metal touches, right? Now if I'm using slide glide, this is what I would slide glide, the frame. And if I were slide gliding, I would have slide glided the barrel. So as long as for every two pieces of metal that go together, one side gets oiled, one side gets slide glide. That's kind of the general rule of thumb. Now that I'm just using this one oil for everything, you know, it doesn't really matter, right? Like I said, so far I've had good luck with it. Kind of stumbled upon it with the open gun, because the open gun runs so fast. Even in the heat, the slide glide was slowing it down too much.
Wow. You run yours faster than most anybody else I know too.
Well, it just seemed like, you know, the gun always ran better after 100 or so rounds. Just because everything was getting loosened up. And
Okay.
so then what I do is I just take the gun upside down like that. So now we just captured the spring and the guide rod, right? So that makes it easier now. We put this back on. And always wear safety glasses with this, because I can't tell you how many times I've shot this into the lights and shattered fluorescent bulbs. And I know I don't have any on right now, thank you. That is not sitting all the way down. It was in the way. So that right there is why I recommend you get the winged tool, because it holds that down as you're turning. Makes life a lot easier. Okay, so now that's all back together. Some excess on there. So you gotta get the slide stop back in. So I'm looking through this hole right here trying to line the link up is what I'm doing. There we go. Now this is somewhat important. Have you ever noticed 1911s that had the big half moon scratches on them?
Idiot marks.
The idiot marks. So you gotta be careful of that. So line up to that first notch, push down, and you see it's tight, right? So this is why most people end up twisting it in because it'll depress the plunger spring, but then when you miss, it goes crazy. So if you line it straight up and on there, take a soft-faced hammer, and it goes right in. So now you don't have to worry about the idiot marks. Then you check it. Everything's good, everything's loose. Test trigger. Check your reset. So everything's good.
Super.
That's it. And then what I'll do with that barricade that I'm talking about, right? Because you just get smudges and, you know what I mean, stuff on the outside. So I just kind of spray it with this. And then wipe it down. And actually the microfiber works better for this than paper towel. As you can see, nice and pretty.
Very pretty. Very nice.
Leaves a nice finish on there. And it's a good rust preventative too. I mean, everything's coated, so you guys don't have to worry about it, but
Yep.
that's it.
Love those VZ grips.
Gotta love these grips. Any questions?